So I'm giving the class for Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tiyabara Chari Jaya Kunja Bihari. 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 Jaya 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 Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Satta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Nitya Leela Pravishtham Vishnupad Paramahansa Stotra Satta Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Sorry. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. New York's beautiful Shri Shri Radha Krishna Radha Govinda Mandir Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Srimati Tulsi Maharani Ki, Brahat Mridanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki, Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yagna Ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. I am grateful to be given this opportunity to speak some Krishna Katha, and I pray that my words may be in line with our Guru Parampara, that there be some inspiration derived from that. And I apologize for my lack of breadth of vision. It's an honor to be here. And the only reason I can go forward with this is because I am confident that I have the mercy and the compassion of the listening devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 14th chapter, entitled The Story of King Vena. And today's verse is number 15. Dharma acharita pumsam. Dharma acharita pumsam. Vanmaya kaya buddhi bihi. Vanmaya kaya buddhi bihi. Lokan vishokan vitaryat. Lokan vishukan vitaryat. And if you're reading along, there's a Y at the end of vitarat. We take that and we add it to the next word. Like this. Yatanatyam asanginam. Yatanantyam asanginam. Could I get a copy of the Bhagavatam? Could I get a copy of the 4th canto? The Bhagavatam. Oh, sorry. Technical difficulties. All right, let's read the verse again. Thank you. Dharma acharita pumsam. Vanmana kaya buddhi bihi. Lokan vishokan vitaryat. Atanatyam asanginam. So, if someone would like to read the verse. Oh, it's not there yet. Okay. I'll read it once more. Thank you. Dharma acharita pumsam. Vanmanakaya buddhi bihi. Lokan vishokan vitaryat. Yatanantyam asanginam. Please chant. Dharma acharita pumsam. Vanmanakaya buddhi bihi. Lokan vishokan vitaryat. Atanatyam asanginam. Dharma acharita pumsam. Vanmana kaya buddhibihi. Lokan vishokan vitaryat. Yatanantyam asanginam. Vaishnavis. Lokan vishokan vyatati. Atanya. Atharma. Sam. Vanmana kaya buddhibihi. Lokan vishokan vityarti. Atanatyam asanginam. Thank you. Word for word. Dharma, religious principles. Acharitaha, executed. Pumsam, to persons. Vak, by words. Manaha, mind. Kaya, body. Buddhi, bihi, and by intelligence. Lokan, the planets. Vishukan, without misery. Vitarati, bestow. Ata, certainly. Anantyam, unlimited happiness or liberation. Asanginam, to those free from material influence. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. Srila Prabhupada ki. Those who live according to religious principles and who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence are elevated to the heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Being thus rid of the material influence, they achieve unlimited happiness in life. Let's read together. Those who live according to religious principles and who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence are elevated to the heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Being thus rid of the material influence, they achieve unlimited happiness in life. The saintly sages herein instruct that the king or head of government should set an example by living a religious life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, religion means worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should not simply make a show of religious life, but should perform devotional service perfectly with words, mind, body, and good intelligence. By doing so, not only will the king or government head rid himself of the contamination of the material modes of nature, but the general public will also, and they will all become gradually elevated to the kingdom of God and go back home, back to Godhead. The instructions given herein serve as a summary of how the head of government should execute his ruling power and thus attain happiness, not only in this life, but also in the life after death. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadandikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sahagrachatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are following the sages of this exceptional kingdom and their procedure now to deal with the miscreant, King Vena, who they actually put him into office. But now they're realizing that the situation requires drastic measures. So this is an interesting... Thank you. Glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Parampara. Interesting procedure that they are taking to try to alleviate the situation and bring King Vena under submission. So this method that they are employing, this method of polity, is actually a very ancient practice. Most recently, it was enunciated by Chanakya. Is that how you pronounce it? Chanakya Pandit? Chanakya Pandit was a minister in the kingdom of Chandragupta, and he provided policy guidance. So he is purported to be the author of this Artha Shastra of 300 BC. And within this Shastra, there is a methodology of politics that is recommended. It comes from 300 BC, so it's rather recent in history, but many of its principles are drawn from the ancient itihastas of Mahabharata and Ramayana. So we're going to see how these sages are employing from a procedure of 4 steps. 4 steps. They're called the Chaturvid Upaya. 4 knowledge of... Chatur means 4, Vid means knowledge, and Upaya means persuasion. Upaya. So what we'll do is look at the previous verses and we can understand the progression a little bit. I'll start with verse 11. The sages began to think within themselves, because he was born from the womb of Suniti, King Vena is by nature very mischievous. Now he has become a source of all difficulties. We appointed this King Vena of this state, king of the state, in order to give protection to the citizens, but now he has become the enemy. Despite all of these discrepancies, we should at once try to pacify him. So this is what the upaya is all about, how to pacify someone and bring them under submission. By doing so, we may not be touched by the sinful results caused by him. The saintly sages continued thinking, of course, we are completely aware of his mischievous nature. If we cannot persuade King Vena to accept our advice, if he doesn't work with this nice persuasion, he will be condemned by the public and we will join them. Thus, by our prowess, we shall burn him to ashes. Burn him to ashes is another step in the Chaturvid Upaya. The great sages, having thus decided, approached King Vena. So the first method that they used is, as it says in verse 13, they pacified him with sweet words. This is the first step of the Chaturvid Upaya. There are 4 Sanskrit words I hope that you can come out of this class knowing. The first one is sama. You can repeat that. Sama. Then dana, beda, and danda. Okay, that's it. Sama, the first step, is what we're going to see being used in the previous verse and in this verse, which is called conciliation. Conciliation uses kindness, samabi. We heard that in the previous verse. Samabi means sweet words. And then amicability, being very friendly with the person you're trying to bring under submission. Saman also employs compliments or flattery. And sometimes you can use temporary treatises. You can find some negotiation, some agreed upon measure that will satisfy both parties. Another method of sama is to establish common benefits. So text 14, the previous verse, starts with this method. The translation, the great sages says, "Dear king, we have come to give you good advice." So they're putting it out there as this is for your benefit. This will improve your condition. Kindly hear us with great attention. They're begging him, please, please. By doing so, your duration of life and your opulence, strength, and reputation will increase. So many perks if he will just give them a listening ear. And now today's verse. Those who live according to religious principles and who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence are elevated to the heavenly kingdom. Now that's something palatable. The heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Being thus rid of the material influence, they achieve unlimited happiness. Wow. So if you just follow these religious principles, dear King Vena, you're going to be rid of the material influence. The 3 modes of nature will not act on you, and you will achieve unlimited happiness in life. This is sounding like Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verse 26. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate, which describes that if one unflinchingly practices devotional service, one will actually transcend the influence of the modes of nature. So these Sama, Dana, Beta, and Danda. The second one, Dana, refers to compensation. Compensation in the form of a gift, in the form of a loan, financial incentives, and yes, even bribery. The sages did not employ Dan in this diplomacy. And why would that be? Because the sages don't have a whole lot of material resources to offer. They have better things to do than collect a bank account. So they did not employ Dan. The next one, Beda, means to create division. We're familiar with Lord Chaitanya's term, achintya beda beda tattva. Means to be divided and then undivided. So here, beta refers to creating division or weakening a person's position by infusing doubt and distrust. To sow discord, to sow the seed of friction. And now beta is a little more aggressive, to reprimand the person. And we're going to see this used in the next verse, 16. There's a little bit of a reprimand there. That is the third method of the Chatur Vid Upaya. And the fourth method, finally, is, which is a last resort, is danda. Danda is the use of force. Danda could be the seizure of property. Danda could mean some kind of torment or torture, punishment, physical coercion, and otherwise, however you can damage the enemy's power. So danda is a last resort, and this will actually be employed by the sages. So you can see they're not going in order of sama, dana, beta, danda. They're going sama to right to danda, which, according to Chanyaka Pandit, is legitimate. These four can be used in many combinations. There's actually 30 different combinations that you can use. And they can be used against their natural order. Sometimes you can start with danda and then go to sama, if that's what is required. Ask any parent what that's like. How do you deal with a child who will not obey you? Sometimes the stick is very appropriate right up front. But other times you can use sweet words, or other times you can give them a lollipop. That would be dana, right? All these things are time-tested. And many of them come, as we were saying, they are derived from the Mahabharata and Ramayana. So at this point, I'll ask you a question. Can anyone think of an incident in the Mahabharata or the Ramayana where saman, or conciliation, was used? Thank you. So Sachinananda Priya is mentioning Krishna is going to Hastinapur and trying to negotiate with Duryodhana about taking charge of villages and dividing the property somehow, which unfortunately did not work. So you see that Saman is a mild kind of persuasion, and then they increase in their strength as they go along. Saman, Dana, Beta, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. Danda is the strongest of the four. And this is a whole amazing system that was depicted in this text called the Artha Shastra from 300 BC. So if you have a chance, you can explore that. And there's actually three components of statecraft. If you don't mind my going off on a tangent here. There's three components of statecraft according to the Artha Shastra. There's the Upaya, which we're reading now, conflict resolution. Then there's Sadgunya, which are 6 foreign policy measures, or Mitra, and Prakriti, which are 7 elements of the state. So it's a very holistic system, this statecraft. It's very sensible, and it's actually employed now. People are realizing the benefit of this Artha Shastra, and it has been revised for modern day business practices. You can look this up online. Sama, Dana, Beta, Danda. All right, let's explore the verse and what the sages are trying to convey. The importance of religious principles and why it's important to live one's life according to them. So what are actual religious principles? We'll start with Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This is what religious principles are not. Anything that has a material motivation. The other day we went through a very nice list in the Adi Leela, chapter 4, verse 165, in which were listed many different kinds of so-called virtuous practices, but every single one of them has material motivation, and therefore they're considered sense gratification. Now this, which is the actual second verse of the Bhagavatam, rejects all of this. Completely rejecting all religious activities materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are pure in heart. And this next line clearly distinguishes. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Consider that there are certain religious practices that are not for the welfare of all. Consider that there are religious principles that are self-centered and don't go beyond that. But if the welfare of all is included in our practice of religious principles, this Vedavyas says such truth uproots the threefold miseries. So this is the only effective means of religious practice. Okay. Another definition of religion from the Hitopadesh, text 25. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending is the same for animals and men. But the special qualification of humans is that they can engage in spiritual life. That's what makes us a little cut above the rest. Without spiritual life, humans are on the same level as animals. Next, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, verse 34. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times. And after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest perfection of religion. Attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this implies that there needs to be a personal relationship in order for religion to properly exist. Krishna is, as Prabhupada says, Krishna is there, we are here, and we have this rapport. And the purport refers to material religion, including 4 primary subjects, namely pious activities, economic development, satisfaction of the senses, and finally liberation. Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Srila Prabhupada explains, irreligious life is a barbarous condition. Indeed, human life begins when religion begins. And then in the purport of today's verse, there is a reference to the Bhagavad Gita, and I came up with 1866. Sarva dharma parityajya mamekam savanam vraja aham sarva prapebhyo mokshashi shama ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion. All varieties of religion. Whatever we conceive of it to be. And the bottom line is just surrender unto me, says Krishna. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So we are being asked in the Bhagavad Gita to only accept religious principles that lead to devotional service unto him. Another even more clear definition of religious principles is given in the Madhya Lila, chapter 17, verses 185 and 86. A devotee's behavior establishes the true purpose of religious principles. A devotee's behavior. So the onus is on us to become genuine devotees. The behavior of Madhavendra Puri is the essence of such religious principles. Madhavendra Puri, therefore, is our example of religious principles come alive. Verse 186. This is Lord Chaitanya speaking. Dry arguments are inconclusive. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajans advocate. So we have Madhavendra Puri and we also have the Mahajans as living examples of how to carry on this commitment to religion. And finally, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 3, Verse 19, real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, of course, any one of Krishna's avatars, they are physically embodying these very important virtues. Now I'd like to explore another facet of the verse. Those who live according to religious principles and who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence. Van mana kaya buddhibihi. How do we implement that? Using your words, mind, body, and intelligence. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Verse 10. If a Brahmana has all 12 Brahminical qualifications, but is not a devotee, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog eater, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life to the Supreme Lord. So we can't judge externally. We need to focus on the person's mind, words, activities, and that is the essence of samadhi. Actually, one of our teachers, Acharya Dev Maharaj, has likened this absorption of mind, words, activities, wealth, and life into the act of going to a movie. When you're watching a movie, your senses are focused. All 5 senses are focused on the screen. Your mind is focused on the screen. Your breathing becomes one with the movie. And everything else is forgotten. If a fire truck goes by, fire engine, and the siren is huge, you're absolutely not paying attention to it. You don't even feel it because you are so absorbed in the movie. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-187, Rupa Goswami writes, one who engages in the transcendental service of the Lord, body, mind, and words, is considered to be liberated in all conditions of material existence. Liberated from what? Material desire and material bondage. And this beautiful verse from the Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge. That's a very important ingredient. Throw away this, because even though we can hear these beautiful principles given every time we sit down and listen to Krishna Katha, still speculative knowledge creeps in. The mind wants to make it up. But Lord Brahma is saying, get rid of that. He says, with their body, mind, and words, offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer Those certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has kindly listed Srila Sanatana Goswami's explanation for these words: body, words, and mind. Tanu, van, manobihi. There's three different ways to look at it. In reference to devotees, though their body, words, and mind, through their body, words, and mind, they are able to conquer the Lord, thus becoming perfect in Krishna consciousness. Devotees can touch his lotus feet with their hands, they can call him to come with their words, and they can attain his direct audience within their mind simply by thinking about him. And in contrast, non-devotees, they are unconquered, and indicate that those not engaged in the loving service of Krishna cannot conquer the absolute truth by their bodily strength, by their verbal expertise, or mental power. Despite their endeavors, the ultimate truth remains beyond their reach. And thirdly, the word jita, or conquered. The words mind and body indicate that pure devotees of Krishna conquer his body, his words, and his mind. Lord Krishna's body is conquered because he always remains by the side of his pure devotees. Lord Krishna's words are conquered because he always chants the glories of his devotees. And Lord Krishna's mind is conquered because he always thinks about his loving devotees. So the verse again. Those who live according to religious principles and who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence are elevated to the heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Being thus rid of the material influence, they achieve unlimited happiness in life. So I do have a presentation on His Grace Ramanujacharya, which will follow our Q&A. So if anyone has any questions or comments or corrections, please feel free. No. Okay. Today is the Virobhav of Ramanujacharya. I have this nice narrative that not only tells a wonderful story, but it also includes some of his principles. You can extract them as we go through this. The authority of the Upanishads and other Vedic literatures were revived by Shankara and employed as weapons to fight the Buddhist doctrine. Shankara established the doctrine of non-dualism, Advaita Vedanta, interpreting the Vedas, stating that all living entities were on an equal level with God. He prominently stressed those texts which afforded an answer to the atheism of the Buddhists. Yet the teaching of Shankara were also not wholly theistic. and thus a further unveiling of the ultimate reality was destined. That destiny was filled through Sri Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya was born 1017 AD. And he was born in Sri Perumbudur. 4 months after his wedding, Ramanuja's father was struck with an illness and left his body. Ramanuja became head of the household and decided to move to Kanchi, a holy city famed for its scholars. In Kanchi, there was a such scholar named Yadava Prakash. Yadava Prakash was renowned for his scholarship in the doctrine of Advaita Vedanta, non-dualism. No one could surpass Yadava in his ability to explain Shankara's commentaries on Vedanta Sutra. Ramanuja enrolled in Yadava's school. Although not at all convinced by the Shankarite conception, Ramanuja learned his lessons well and soon became one of Yadava's favorite students. Yadava therefore showed Ramanuja special affection, but that affection did not last. One day after delivering a discourse on the Chandogya Upanishad, Yadava asked young Ramanuja to massage his body with oil. That's the customary service performed by a student. While giving the massage, another student came to Yadava for some clarification on a point in the Chandogya Upanishad. The boy had failed to grasp the meaning of the seventh verse in the first chapter. Yadava proceeded to expound an interpretation which described the sublime qualities of Godhead in a manner which was flagrantly objectionable. On hearing the words of his teacher, the heart of Ramanuja, which was full of love for the Supreme Godhead, was saddened, and hot tears streamed down from his eyes and fell on the thigh of Yadava. Looking up at the touch of these tears, Yadava could understand that something was troubling his student. When he inquired, Ramanuja replied, "O great and wise master, I've been sorely afflicted at heart to hear such an unbecoming explanation from a noble soul like you. How sinful it is of you to debase the Supreme, who is endowed with all gracious qualities and who is the source of all beautiful things in this world. From the mouth of such a learned man as you, I would never have expected such a low and deceitful interpretation." Well, Guru Yadava became so angry he could hardly control himself. "Well then," he scorned, "maybe you would like to give your own interpretation, since you obviously think you know better than I." In a very gentle voice, Ramanuja replied, "Reverend sir, there is no need to give a low-minded interpretation to the verse when the real meaning is direct and glorious." "Then let us hear this meaning which is so glorious," said Yadava. Ramanuja then stood and with great humility recited the meaning of the verse. "The two eyes of the Supreme are as lovely as two lotuses that are blossomed by the rays of the sun." "I see," said Guru Yadava. "You speak as though there was a supreme person. That's due to your childish ignorance. You have not learned your lessons properly. You should always remember that the Supreme is without form, without name, without attributes. That is the teaching of the great Shankara. In the future, you, Ramanuja, should not voice your foolish sentiments." Ramanuja remained silent. A few days later, a second incident occurred. While explaining a verse from the Taittiriya Upanishad, beginning Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Yadava said that Brahman was intelligence, truth, and the infinite. Hearing this explanation, Ramanuja politely added, Brahman is endowed with the qualities of intelligence, truth, and the infinite. This means that he's not covered by ignorance as are ordinary living entities. He is never untruthful, and his energies are unlimited, not limited. The Supreme Brahman is the reservoir of all good qualities, yet he is superior to those qualities, as the sun globe is superior to sunlight. The agitation which Guru Yadava felt with his mind made his voice tremble. You young fool! Your conclusions do not agree with those of Shankara or any of the previous masters. If you are going to persist with this useless talk about a personal God, why come here at all and simply waste my time? Why don't you start your own school? Start your own school and teach whatever you like. Get out of my classroom immediately. As Ramanuja rose from his seat, Yadava began to reflect. This Ramanuja is not an ordinary boy. If he starts his own school, the philosophy of devotion might become a threat to the philosophy of non-dualism. For the sake of preserving our doctrine, this fool should be killed. So Ramanuja, shortly afterwards, did open a school in his home. And in no time, many people began to come to him to hear his devotional discourses. Ramanuja's lectures were wholly theistic. He rejected the concept that the living entity could be equal to the Supreme and become God, as postulated by Shankar. The living entity, Ramanuja taught, is a particle of Godhead. And as such, his position is to serve the complete whole. And this is an analogy that Srila Prabhupada uses frequently. He said that as the hand is part of the body, and thus a servant of the body, similarly, the living entity is part of the Supreme, and thus his constitutional position is to serve the Supreme. This philosophy became known as Vishtadvaita, or qualified non-dualism. Accordingly, the living entities are believed to be qualitatively one with the Supreme and at the same time quantitatively different. Can you see the parallels to Lord Chaitanya's? Yes. Ramanuja's assertion was that the parts can never become the whole Supreme. Ramanuja further reasoned that if an illusion could cover the identity of the Supreme, then illusion was greater than Godhead. Therefore, he asserted that we are eternally individual personalities, and the Supreme is eternally the Supreme Personality, but due to our infinite nature, we are sometimes subject to illusion. Ramanuja also accepted the theory of transformation rejected by Shankar. According to Shankar, the material world is false. It has no existence. But Ramanuja purported that the material world is the energy of Godhead. And subjective reality does not undergo any change of substance in the matter of material manifestation. In the same way that a singer who creates a song out of his own energy is not diminished due to his creation. Rather, he becomes more glorious. I thought that was a very good analogy. So this is a very long story, and it's coming on 9 o'clock. I don't know how much further I should go. But I guess I'll read for 2 more minutes. According to Ramanuja, when the living entities are freed from these illusions produced by the material energy, by the method of devotion and natural love of God, like dealings between an affectionate servant and his master, then the soul becomes qualified to enter the spiritual sky known as Vaikuntha. This sublime message was daily imparted by Ramanuja to his listeners. So the story goes on that Ramanuja is becoming more and more popular. Guru Yadava Prakash is becoming restless, and he connives a way to kill Ramanuja. And of course, Ramanuja finds out about this plot, and he is spared. But in the meanwhile, his fame continued to spread far and wide, and many, many people, fortunately, came into the realm of theism and personalism because of his timeless influence. So there's lots more. If you have time today, please look this up, Sri Ramanujacharya, and you can relish his position, his principles, many of which are in line with the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnav principles. So at this point, I want to thank you all for being here, for taking the time to listen. And Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sri Ramanujacharya Avirbhav ki jai. Itai Gaur Premanande. Haribol.